I want to do a video response here to Slytiger Survival's video, military veteran preppers versus regular Joe preppers. I know that there's an individual out there who I think is, and I don't mean Slytiger, who thinks that I, for one, am under some type of delusions of grandeur, that because I have military experience, I'm somehow more likely to survive than some other people. And so I wanted to kind of talk about that and run down just some observations for what it's worth. And the reason I'm doing this is so that both the veteran groups might look at things a little differently about their strengths and weaknesses, and the citizen defender types, and recollect that that's how I characterize the non-veteran class, right? The citizen defender, the American rifleman, right? It is you, not us, not we veterans, but it is you that is the final line in the sand to hold this country and to keep hearth and home well protected. And that's what this channel was all about from its inception till now, is to help the American rifleman or the citizen defender stand to be counted, because I know that is in the citizen. I know that is in the individual American. I know the willingness to close with the enemy and do him harm. To bash a man's skull in with a shovel is within a great many of us, whether you're a veteran or active duty or a cop or have never been involved in any of that. The only thing that person doesn't have is training necessarily. Some certainly have all the training in the world. But ultimately in the wide world of sports, that is interpersonal violence, there's only two types of people, the trained and the untrained. It's not the super badass, or the super strong, or the super this or that or the other thing. It's the guy who has the training that will help in the particular situation he finds himself in or herself in, and how applicable that training is in addressing the threat or addressing the situation. Which leads me to the discussion of strength and weaknesses. Military guys and gals, right, across the board. Not everybody is a gunfighter, infantryman, spec op, death machine. There's 88 Mike truck drivers that have way more combat experience than 11 Bravos, because they're driving around in convoys, getting blown up, having to recover vehicles under fire, all the stuff they have to do. So forget all that. Let's just look at the military personnel, from the guy who's spent his whole military career on a carrier to that guy who's been crawling around in the mud for his whole career. I mean, what do they have in common? They have a fairly regimented lifestyle. The services might give each other a hard time about how this service or that service, is way more lax than the other ones. But at the end of the day, you're not wearing what you want to. You're not dressing how you want to. You're not doing anything necessarily that you want to. You are predominantly doing what you are told to do. Wear this uniform, be there at this time, be ready for a PT test, be ready to stand for the board, be ready to take the advancement test. Here's your next duty station, your PCS, all that stuff. They are used to regimentation and taking directives and doing what they're told to do. That I don't mean in an unthinking way. For sure they are thinking. They're plotting and scheming every day of their lives. How to work within the confines of a highly regimented life. And they get very, very adept at overcoming obstacles and doing workarounds and what we call drug deals, or backroom handshakes. Hey man, you remember that time we served back here? Yeah. So when I put in for this job, right, you're going to help me. And I know that from a certain vantage, the various careers within the military are as different as night and day, and to a certain point that is true. But at another vantage, we're all having to just deal with what we're having to deal with, right? And that makes us effective in a situation where we have to work together to survive. So that is definitely a benefit across the board for military members, that they can work together. And not just with other military members, but period. Because as Slytiger points out, and it is very true, even in the most high-speed, low-drag death machine unit, there's both sides of the spectrum. The guy that's marginal, and the guy who's, death himself, right? You have to work with the people that you are in that unit with, and not all of them see the world the way you do, hold your values, your beliefs, your religion. They're not your same color. They're not your same orientation. They are totally different. And you have to figure it out, and you have to work together, right? So there is a huge benefit, right, for military personnel, right? But beyond that, then, to a more select and smaller group of military vets, and not just necessarily combat arms, but combat service support, combat support. Can't remember which, but the guys that are out there in the battle space, exposed to hardships and adversity, as part of their job, have experienced firsthand what deprivation is, have experienced firsthand what lethal stress is. And kind of have a really good sense of what they are made of, where their breaking points are, what they can endure. This is a benefit, right? So they have the ability to work as a team, and they have some context with which to evaluate how bad things are sucking at any given time. These are both very, very, very important. So these are two very positive things, but let's look at some other sides of the house here. As I have pointed out any number of times, there's going to be a period of chaos, there's going to be a period of transition, and there's going to be some new paradigm if the post-collapse environment, if the VUCA, if the role, whatever, if the worst case scenario were ever to happen. So, yeah, you're an infantryman, right? You have grown up in a world where fire and maneuver and combat arms, combined arms warfare, are your bread and butter. But you can't call close air support. You can't call medevac. You can't call some supporting unit to come and lay some fire down to help you extricate yourself from contact. So all the things that you are trained in how to do, yeah, they're applicable, but it's not the same world. It's not the same environment. So you're up against other people who are, at a minimum, just as likely to use violence as you are, but in all likelihood are far more willing to use violence and are much more experienced than you are in the application of violence. The professional criminal class, we all talk a bunch of smack about that, but these guys, some of these guys are day in, day out, violent, lethal guys. So even your average infantryman who spent 5 or 6 or 7 years or even 20 years in the military, he was fighting within a code, within a moral kind of compass, generally speaking. I know a lot of the civilian citizens out there are going to be like, oh, no, that's not true. You guys are just baby killers and you're running amok. But that's not, in fact, the case. The military works within a very closely set right and left limit, for where your moral compass is pointing. You're not like the career criminal class in the application of violence and lethal force. It's a different thing. So, the military members that are counting on their ability to employ military-style tactics and employ military-style weapons by themselves against supposedly, soft civilian citizenry is going to be sadly mistaken with what they actually find out there. It is not going to be that at all. So what I'm trying to say there is that this reliance on somebody's military prowess in terms of the application of violence is at best a neutral, and if too heavily relied on, is actually a negative for the veteran, right? The far more important things are, can you teach people to do the things you know how to do? Can you teach people to do security? Can you teach people to employ those weapons? Can you be a force multiplier? If you can be a force multiplier, then your skills are of vital importance and will help to get you through. Because, if you can get through to people and help bring them up to speed on that particular skill set, because they're willing and they're able, they're just untrained. If you can bring that deficit up to a level playing field, then you're going to have the benefits of your own security and the ability for your wife and your kids and everybody you love and care for to live in a community that is well protected, so that more importantly they can get into the things that really allow a community to thrive, such as agriculture, research and development, and power generation. Right? What does an infantryman know about those three things? Right? Does his rifle and his ability to employ fire and maneuver put food on the plate? Well, I mean, maybe if he's a thief, a robber and a killer, a murderer, okay, maybe. But if he thinks that skill set is the epitome of all that it is to be prepared, he is sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. Food production is where it's at. Food production. Safe, clean, efficient, effective food production. How to grow it, how to can it, how to salt it, how to smoke it, how to preserve it so it doesn't kill you when you open it up 3 or 4 months down the way. Can you build things? Can you fix things? Can you fabricate things? Can you figure out how to generate power? Can you do any kind of medical? I mean, on and on and on and on. There are so many things that the combat arms type of guy doesn't know if all he is relying on is the skill sets he can bring from his military experience to bear to this post-collapse environment situation. That's why training and education is so important. And I don't say for you citizens, you civilians, training and education is key, but we've got it all figured out. No, across the board, wherever your shortcomings are, that's where you need to shore up. Just because you can, lead a squad of riflemen doesn't mean that you're going to know how to dress out a deer, or plant a row of beans, or generate electricity with an electric motor and a stream. How to run a welder to tack together a flipping fan so you can turn that electric motor into a hydroelectric power generating piece of equipment, and on and on and on and on and on. The citizens out there, our brothers and sisters out there in the space, have their own skill sets. We're all going to be vitally important. No one skill set or experience or group or type of person is going to make it. It is going to be an amalgam, a hodgepodge of all that we are that pushes through. The ones that will make it are the ones that are willing to work together. Period. Now, for my part, the way that I see it, for me, I am not Superman. I am not bulletproof. I am definitely not the smartest man in the room. I am not the most trained. I am not the most capable. I am not the most fit. I will be happy if I can keep my family alive at the cost of my own life, I'm good with it. As proof that I don't think that somehow I am better than you. The reason I talk about my faith is because I don't know that I will survive the PCE. I want to do everything I can to ensure that my family does. But I am at peace with the fact that I have to stand in the breach. I have to sell my life dearly in their defense. Gunfights are messy, and when there is no supporting medical, no antibiotics, it's a dunskin, man. You know, you might only have one good stand-up fight in you before the wounds and the infection from the wounds take you. So I talk about faith, not because I want to blow sunshine up your skirt and make you feel all sunshine and happy or judged. I'm not on either side trying to do those things. For me, it is of vital importance because I know how finite life is and how even random things will kill you. Stupid things will kill you. Unforeseen things will kill you. Never mind all the things that you do see coming. I mean, every day I think about this when I say my prayers, when I read the scriptures, when I listen to preachers on the radio, homilies, all of that. I say the rosary. It is so that I can meet my death with courage because I have faith in what is to come after. Does that sound to you like somebody who thinks somehow that he is magically going to make it through when everybody else falls by the wayside? At the very best, I hope to ensure that my family makes it through. And I am willing to do what must be done to make that so. Anyway, I thought Slytiger's video was pretty thought-provoking and interesting. And, you know, to the individual who has taken my position to be that I will survive when everyone else falls by the wayside. I'm a fat old man with a busted up body, dude. I can't run, so I'm just going to have to stand there and fight. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. All right. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Watch your six. And bye for now.